Good morning. Um, Happy Memorial Day. So, day to remember um, those who've died fighting for our freedom. Very important day to me. Anyway, I'm here to talk a little bit about curriculum, give you my views to some degree, and as I mentioned in my welcome video, I am a curriculum theorist, so I definitely have ideas on this. And I will share an outline if I can find it. I can't find it. Did I? I don't want to do that again. I messed that up. Oh, I apologize. There we go. I'm actually, this is my second attempt at, all right. And doing the video, I messed up, so I had to restart it. So anyway, let me share the screen. Hopefully I can find, there it is. Okay. All right, so there we are. So what is curriculum? I'm assuming by now you've either looked at the videos or read the one piece in topics 1 and 2 on curriculum. That's to try to provide you with a broad background, and this is a continuation of that process. So I come out of a school of curriculum called the Reconceptualist. I would certainly include Dr. Dahl in that school, although he's not the founder of that school. And I don't know if you can call Aoki or even the other authors necessarily reconceptualists. I think David Jardine, the lead author in the Curriculum Abundance book, could certainly place within a reconceptualist movement. But not strictly so. But anyway, and so reconceptualizing the curriculum asks you to rethink it. And that's kind of what I do in this class with the readings that you have. Most of you come to this course with a very rudimentary understanding of curriculum based upon your school and teaching experience in your undergraduate programs. I would argue that by and large, that's fairly traditional. Okay, so what you're familiar with is the school curriculum. So curriculum has been roughly described as a way of thinking about what to teach and how to teach. And we've been doing that, as the Harvey reading will point out, ever since there was schooling in the Western tradition. Even in ancient Greece, which is really, along with Rome, the tradition we come out of. One of the reasons, or the primary reason why Socrates was given the death sentence of drinking hemlock was because the citizens of Athens didn't like what he was teaching their youth. Okay. Um, so this tension that we currently see in the news between teachers and parents is not a new one. Okay. It's been around. And the reform movement that we're currently in really began in the 19th century and has continued unabated because it makes for easy press, right? The reform movement was really initiated by the media of the 19th century and what is called yellow journalism. Okay. It's an easy, teachers are an easy target. Schools are easy targets. Okay. So, because if you think about it, anybody, everybody that's been to school is an expert. Today we're in school 13 years or so, including kindergarten. So we all come away with an idea of how to teach, what to teach, based upon our own experience, what's a good teacher, what's not a good teacher. Some of that is trivialized by parents, some of it is not. Okay. So it's not a new phenomenon at all. So I break the curriculum down as a reconceptualist. I break the curriculum down into two areas: the school curriculum, what most of you are familiar with, everything that happens in and around school. This would include everything from the time a student gets on a bus to the time they're dropped off. It also includes homework, includes all the extracurricular activities. And is in a student's life can become all-encompassing, and at times, I think, and overbearing. I was going to say oppressive, but really overbearing. And a lot of students historically escape from school by working. Okay. While I was still in high school, I worked. And that was my escape from school. It gave me excuse not to do as much homework as I probably should have. Before child labor laws, kids would leave school to go work in the factories. Believe it or not, the literature suggests kids preferred working in a dangerous factory over being in a classroom, which in their day was dangerous for lots of varied reasons. Okay. So the school curriculum includes the knowledge base, standards, tests, texts, test books, what you're reading, and the teacher. Also instructional practices. So it's curriculum and instruction. It's not curriculum or instruction. So instructional practices go part and parcel to the curriculum. We teach the sciences, let's say, different from the social studies. And we teach math differently from that. And we teach English differently. All right, so, but we also teach differently in different types of classrooms that are made up of different types of students. In any one classroom, the teacher now is expected to differentiate their instruction and to some degree content based upon who's in her class, okay? Technology, you could put that in knowledge base. There's both mature technology and emergent technology. So mature technology, my best example of that is the chalkboard. That's a technology. We don't recognize it as a technology because it's so matter of fact. Although if you walk in a classroom today and see a chalkboard, you would wonder, if you had stepped back into the Middle Ages. Now it's a whiteboard. maybe an interactive whiteboard. Realize it's still a board. So it's still part and parcel to that Blackboard technology. I'm much more comfortable on a Blackboard, although I've used, smart boards. But the technology is really outpacing teaching. It was pushed to its limits during COVID when everyone stayed at home. And of course, as we know, it opened up a lot of problems where parents got to see what's going on in classrooms. Students got into trouble by just living in their homes, and things on their wall were seen by teachers, and they wanted to expel students from their online classroom. As you can tell, I find that curious at best. So then we have emerging technologies, and really the emerging technologies, particularly with AI, with Meta, the metaverse, it may be moving beyond traditional classrooms. We just haven't figured it out. How to really deliver that information in ways that students can learn it generally. And we may never. There may be limits to that. But I suspect that we're going to have more and more homeschooled children using the technology base. That's the big difference between homeschooling today and homeschooling when I first started teaching at Nichols in 2000. Okay, there wasn't an online knowledge base in the same way that it exists today. Okay, and that's in AI's going to change some things. It's going to be as fundamental to how we teach. It's a fundamental change to how we teach as the textbook was. Okay, so the printed textbook, which is really, I would argue, the beginnings of the virtual world. Okay, remember, reading that book, which was made, which could be printed, made cheaply, and shipped around the world. Okay, you could read about places that you would never visit physically, and through your imagination, to become part of that world. That's virtuality. Okay, we just do it in a much different way today. Okay, so it also changed how we taught, because prior to the printed text, even though we had reading and writing, we still lived in a fairly oral world. Orality was the key, and we had the art of memory, use of mnemonics, to help us remember things because it wasn't down on a printed page. That textbook now could place what we would try to remember into a book that became plentiful and semi-permanent. Okay. Now we have our phones. Okay, our phones are beginning to replace a book. Okay, in many, many ways. It's replaced newspapers. Okay, already. It's replaced magazines already. So anyway, that's what's going on with curriculum in the school curriculum. The other part of curriculum is culture and society, right? Everything outside of school that has a symbiotic relationship with school. There's that interaction. The best, unfortunately, the best example is what's in the news today around the Uvalde shooting, school shooting, and how, and the conversation has already begun about the hardening of schools, which when you hear that, think, how can we better protect our students by turning our classrooms, turning our school into a more prison-like situation? Okay. What's the difference between a school and a prison? The razor wire points in different directions. Is a way to think about that. And there's a lot of research, there's a lot of literature on that relationship. And already there's schools whose designs use prison technologies to try to keep students safe. So, and also the surveillance aspect. We surveil classrooms today. We surveil teachers. All these things, I think, should be problematic. We should really be made to think about what's going on there. Okay. I'm not saying it's not necessary in a short-term sense, but this is how we really want to educate our children through these kinds of processes. And there's a lot of literature too on the school to prison pipeline for certain segments of the school population. Okay. So my working description of curriculum is the stories. Curriculum are the stories that we tell children about who we are. Okay, some of those stories we tell to young children, sometimes to teenagers, sometimes to as children become adults, and then there's some stories we never tell or shouldn't. So, and most of what you're reading about and viewing in topics 1 and 2 is really about the school curriculum. Okay. But so I would argue that the concept of curriculum is one of the main drivers in the formation of Western civilization as we move out of the medieval into the modern period. And a lot of that is about which discourses count. Part of that is the scientific method and the rise of science, especially experimentation, but it's also about ideologies and ideologies of control. School is a place of control. Also curriculum and method, we use method as a way of controlling. You can understand curriculum as a way of controlling too, controlling the discourse, but they go hand in hand. And society today has become much more methodized. And the philosophy of modernity and schooling is all about efficiency. How do we make life more efficient? Curriculum 2 is, the term originates with the Latin term. It's a Latin term that refers to a race course, but in particular, a short or diminutive race course. The race course that, the chariot races we see in the movies, like in Ben-Hur, that's the circus. Okay, that's the big racetrack. The curriculum is like a short track. We have examples in stock car, the race on short tracks, and Bristol and Dover, I think. And they also race on the big circuses, meaning Talladega or Daytona, sorry. Anyway, so that's, so as we use the term curriculum, we're already talking about it's a limiting factor in terms of what the knowledge base is. It's a limiting factor on how we teach. I argue that we probably should abandon the word, although I don't have a replacement. Prior to the 16th century, so prior to the 1500s, we usually didn't use the word curriculum for the courses we taught in school. Okay. Anyway, so topics 1 and 2. I think it's the videos on South Africa are just an interesting juxtaposition and show a type of discourse on how to talk about developing curriculum in periods of transition. And unfortunately, in the United States, we're constantly in transition when it comes to schools. And a lot of that's driven by the technology, but also a lot of that is driven by needing to publish something, particularly new textbooks and making money, and a drive to efficiency. But what we know as experienced teachers is that classroom learning is anything but efficient. Okay. Anyway, I'll talk briefly about the gloss, talked a little bit about it in the welcome video, but really think of it as you read the 3 readings. Okay, I would have a pen in hand, and as you come across something that you find interesting, that you can relate to, write it down, write questions that you might have, memories that you might have that are related to that. And all of these things you'll bring together in your gloss as a way to analyze the reading from your own experience. I'm looking for a couple of pages. I don't want a title page. I just want a heading. And I have that example in the syllabus. Just get right into it. Try not to, use the kind of opening sentence that sort of repeats something from the reading. Also, I really don't want to see quotes, certainly no block quotes. Paraphrase everything. That gives me a better sense of how you understand it. Okay. You can write as much as you would like. You can write 3 pages, write 3 pages. Don't limit yourself just because I say 2 pages. But that's really the minimum, if you will, I'm looking for. And that's double spaced, okay? A 12-point font, not 15-point font, okay? The other thing is I usually, if I think the things you could add or do better with a gloss, I will return it to you and let you work on it before you post it for a grade, okay? Because it's really about learning from the activity as more so than the grade in a sense. Okay. Well, that is what I wanted to talk about. I'll stop sharing. As always, if I've generated any questions, please email me. And again, I want to reiterate for those in higher ed, we should try to set up something next week, or this week, I should say. Just to chat about how the approach you may want to take in class. So you take care. Have a good Memorial Day and enjoy your summer.